He's an idiot, he's got super strength, he's good in the kitchen and good in bed too. Oh, did I forget to mention that he's already dead? Ayumu is the second most stupid person on Earth. The first would be his mother for birthing such an idiot. So he's unalived, brought back to life, and now has some insane powers and massive aura points that he uses to chase after dangerous baddies and clap every female that comes in his way. Is this a zombie? Was the same question I asked when I saw the protagonist, who looks nothing like a zombie, also can be cut in two and rejoined like a Frankenstein monster, can cook a meal better than Hildebachi, and is a good houseboy. All I know that he's got as a zombie characteristic are his inability to think like a human being and his extraordinary strength. It's early in the morning and Ayumu Aikawa is heading to school. He greets the lady, who looks like a chosen priest warrior, and she's sipping tea. He gets to school and he seems to be the usual NPC who just sits at my famous protagonist seat. It's at the right back corner, but just a chair forward. Tulio Arito, a four eyes with hair that looks like it's from DBS, says there's a physics test coming up and asks to see Ayumu's notes. On his way back, Ayumu tries to save a cat from a moving truck, but he gets in the way of the truck, and before the truck hits him, he announces that he's a zombie. As he travels through the sky after being hit, he magically loses all his clothes, and this freaks everyone out. He gets home and greets the warrior that's sitting in his living room. Her name is Euclid Hell Scythe. He tells her he's home, but she's only worried about him heading straight to the kitchen and whipping up dinner. He tells her the incident he just went through, but F it, he's a zombie, and all she cares about is her dinner. He's utterly disappointed by her reaction and calms himself by mind, clapping her. He goes in and whips dinner anyway. Later that night, he got news from Tulio that he should stay safe because a serial killer is on the loose. Ayumu does the exact opposite as he steps out to look for the killer, gets a drink, and stops by a cemetery to chill out because that's where the homeboy feels more at home. Just as he's enjoying the cool breeze of the night, he hears clicks and clanks from a distance. We see slashes like two top-tier samurai warriors going at it. Suddenly, BAM! An explosion! But that's not the most surprising thing. He sees a pink anime Power Rangers falling from the sky like she's doing a peach cover advertisement, because why are her legs spread so wide? Someone please donate for her a toy Excalibur, and also she's holding Denji's head. She lands right in front of him, and before he knows it, a giant bear shows up behind him and pierces his fingers right through Ayumu. The pink panty advertiser and Chainsaw Man handler uses Denji's head to cut through Ayumu and cut down the giant bear. She's shocked to hear him still speaking after she just cut him in half. She tries to heal him, but plot twist. He unknowingly drains all her magic and her clothes disappear too. Now she's in her full glory and stumping him to give her back her magic. Now he's stuck with her for a while. She follows him home and Yu doesn't mind her staying. Ayumu introduces Yu as a necromancer from the underworld. The next day after school, he doesn't leave school because according to this anime, zombies can't walk under the sun. Tulio tries to engage Ayumu, but Ayumu shoots down the idea because Tulio wants to come to his house, and if he does that, he'll know this lowly cow is busy clapping two females. A shady figure appears and says he wants Ayumu, who's shocked to hear these words, holds his buns, indicating that he doesn't want his back hole clapped. Just then, the peach cover advertiser shows up and says the figure is a megalo. The megalo reveals himself to be a huge crayfish. The peach cover advertiser tries her Power Ranger transformation, but it fails and she's back in her full glory. The megalo strikes at her, but Ayumu blocks it with his back. He also stops the flying hand of the megalo with just his bare hands, and this blows their mind. He then transforms using the peach cover advertiser powers that he sucked away a while ago. But instead of a man's uniform, he's in a lady's uniform. When he defeats the monster midair, he lands in the middle of the field, and the whole school recognizes him and quickly pulls out their phones and takes pictures. Let's run through memory lane. He was walking on his own, and all of a sudden, he saw Yu sitting all on her own in front of a mart. That same night, he was sent to his ancestors as a katana pierced through his chest from behind. His soul was, however, pulled back from the clutches of the Grim Reaper by Yu, and now, look at where that landed him, in front of the whole school cross-dressed. Now he's a zombie and a Magic Lad girl too. Magic Lad is the name of the powers he stole from— wait a minute, we still don't know the peach cover advert girl's name. Her name is Haruna. He's not a bit happy about becoming a magical clad. Well, it's kind of lunchtime and he's unwrapping his lunchbox. He remembers how Haruna made the breakfast and gave it to him. He opens it and it's all egg rolls, egg pudding, flat egg, and I don't particularly think he wants to eat an all-egg meal. He tasted it, and if it were Rengoku, he would have screamed umai. His classmates Tulio also doubted the delightful taste of the egg rolls, and when he tasted it, he screamed for the whole class to come taste it, and before long, everyone in class gathered round to taste it, and some also exchanged their meal, just so they could have a taste of it. When he got home, he told her he didn't realize that a hopeless advertiser like her could pull a meal so good, and he found out that's all she knows how to make when she asked him to teach her to cook more kinds of meals. He quickly put together rice and curry for everyone, and they gathered round to eat. They keep eating and asking for seconds until a new person arrives. I was watching this in 6x speed. I had to reduce it all the way down to 3 to realize that she uses Ninja Shadow Jutsu technique to appear. Everyone casually greeted her, and she introduced herself as Seraphim, and she proceeded to say she likes the shallow reversal secret sword technique. She's skilled in the swallow follow reversal secret sword technique, and her whole life is all about the, you know the technique. While she was going on about her technique, the cameraman, may God bless his soul, was all about her melons. She says she's a vampire ninja, and damn, it's my first time hearing of a vampire that's a ninja. That's cool, pretty cool. She says she wants to be Yu's assistant, but Yu tells Ayumu to tell her to get the hell out of her face. Seraphim asks who this ugly boy Ayumu was to Yu, and the stupid monkey says he's her elder brother, but she sends a note that debunks him down to her servant. And have I mentioned that Yu is a warrior of no words, but she's skilled at writing at the speed of light? Before you know, a duel is on between Seraphim and Ayumu. Sneak peek at 9:01. She's a ninja and a vampire, but I'd love some cold-blooded melon session. The battle takes place at where the zombie feels more at home. Hey, she's an undead too. Does she feel at home, adding the fact that zombies are known for exotic coffins as their sleeping chambers? The fight is on, and like Naruto ninja skills, she's moving with the wind. He cooked up a simple plan after dodging a zillion slashes and let her stab him. He holds her down and musters all his strength to head boot her, but she uses the famous tap-tap exchange jutsu, and he realizes he just hit a log of wood. She's in the sky with her vampire wings and sends 8 strikes at him, but he dodged them and sends his cutout left hand flying at her. It was a move she'd not expect. As she's plunging to the ground, she throws a ninja star at him, hitting directly into his 4 heads. She apologizes and declares him the winner, saying she'll let him go home now. When he gets home, he sees the same ninja vampire pouring tea for Yu. He asked her what in God's name she's doing there, and she says that's her home too. Later that night, the ninja opens a hole in his ceiling and tells him that the master had shut her heart of all emotions. Ayumu said she just met Yu. How the F does she think she knows so much already? She tells him that she knows more about women's feelings than his ugly face would ever comprehend. He then thinks back to the first day he saw her. He tried all he could to get her attention and ended up breaking his hand, just when he thought he lost. She came up to him and said his little show was interesting and asked for his name. He asked what he looked like, and she called him a suspicious idiot. On his way back that night, he heard of a homicide and went there in search of the criminal. Instead of saving the day, he gets his weak ass killed, but he was woken again by Yu. And that's how it all started in detail, and now look at him, surrounded by 3 out of Earth ladies. He himself is actually no more human. We could call this Home Transylvania. They're gathered for dinner, and later on they begin to chat. Yu doesn't like anything about death, so when Haruna jokingly said Ayumu should die, Yu gave her a hot and resounding slap, saying, or better still, writing that death is painful. Haruna goes to her room, and the remaining gluttons stay around to continue eating. Next morning, Haruna is woken from a delightful dream by her alarm clock that when she tapped it to stop ringing, it became a big bird and it pecked her head as hard as a rock falling from the sky. The ninja Flash steps to Yu and greets her. On the other hand, the zombie wakes up and it's going to be a bad day for him because the sun is going to be as hot as boiling water today. He gives the ladies breakfast and heads for school. They play Jenga wooden blocks, and it's the first time that I see a Jenga game that turns into a construction site. Ayumu, on the other hand, is at school and seeing the hell of it. It's so big he had to use an umbrella in class. On the other hand, Tulio is going round and asking girls out on a date with him, but everyone turns him down. He gets to Ayumu and Ayumu pities him. Tulio blabs about how going out with girls is so lame, and the ladies in the class all hear him. Just to save him, Ayumu agrees to go out on the date with him. On the other hand, at home, the Jenga game is still on, and by some miracle, it's a zigzag line. The ladies are still going at it as Haruna grabs Denji's head and uses it to rearrange the Jenga cubes into a straight line like the Tower of Babylon. Now, the game can't be won or lost. They move to a new game of... I can't really tell the name of the game, but I remember playing it as a kid on my laptop. I think Ginseng or so. They just keep playing one game to another all day. Let us sneak peek between 8:09 and 8:40. It's a pure sight of melon-sized difference between the ninja and the magic lad girl. I call shotgun on the ninja girl. Y'all can have the magic lad and her rice cake of a chest. At the bowling center, Ayumu and Tulio are sitting. Ayumu's ears are bleeding from Tulio's words of needing a woman that's not in uniform. Just then, he sights 2 huge melons hanging on a boat, and it's the ninja. Apparently, the girls are here too. Tulio's imagination runs wild as he's thinking of clapping all 3 of the girls that live with Ayumu. Ayumu realized that if this monkey finds out he's living with such beauties, he'll be in big trouble. But as he stands up, he realizes that moving an inch would catch their attention, so he seats his behind down. He looks away so they don't see him, but from Tulio's back, we can clearly see that he's already been busted. Haruna wastes no time on calling him out and saying he's ignoring them. The monkey sitting next to Ayumu thinks she's waving at his lonely and forgotten buns. When the girls come to Ayumu wondering why he's ignoring them, he puts on a mask and mistakenly still says his name. Like I said, the zombie can't use his brain. Tulio finds out that he's been living with these beauties and now he demands some answers. Ayumu struggles to answer, and now Tulio wants to know how much he's been clapping them. Tulio runs all the positions he could have clapped these fine gems living with him and screams out loud that he's jelly of Ayumu. All of a sudden, Tulio gets a text from Kyoto asking when he'll come visit. Tulio drags Ayumu by the tail to the hospital saying that Kyoto wants to see him too. Tulio warns Ayumu that Kyoto is his sister and if he dares lay a finger on his precious gem, Ayumu might lose an Excalibur or a limb. When they get into the ward, Kyoto is shocked to see Ayumu and quickly puts bands on her hair to look prettier. Tulio stepped outside and Ayumu used this chance to ask if she saw the killer. She said the killer had blue eyes, and Ayumu added that the killer had silver hair and a gauntlet. Kyoto affirms, and now we think that the killer is you. Today, the queen of unbelievably sweet eggs is making dinner. I remember saying egg rolls. I didn't mean eggs rolled up in dough, I meant fried eggs rolled up and folded to look like pretty flowers. Haruna dragged the ninja into cooking dinner, and dinner today is vegetables, which the ninja doesn't like. On the other hand, Ayumu and his master sit by the table, and he's lost wondering if she is the killer. At the end of the Mad Max meal prep, they come out with something that looks like a poison to kill the world's most notorious killer. He puts his chopsticks in the bowl of soup, and it melts away instantly. They put a little in a bowl for him to taste, and immediately he tastes it, and it knocks him flat out. He gets two, and it's kind of too late to make dinner, so he orders 2 pizzas. Haruna uses his phone to make a call saying she hasn't found the artifact. When they ask what the artifact is, she said it's fear. They hear a knock on the door, and Ayumu goes to check. It's not the pizza man, and it's not your regular were-dog man, but he introduces himself as Cerberus Wansard. He says he's the watchdog for the underworld. He says he exists to allow entry, but never exit out of the afterlife. He says he's here to drag the zombie back to hell. Ayumu runs back to the ladies with a wound on his hand. Yu heals the wound, and when the watchdog comes in and sees Yu, he's shocked to the bone and asks what his master is doing here. He sits with them and shares a meal. Master Hellscythe tells him that it's Herb Joyce to be here, and he says his business is fine here and leaves. In replacement of the soul he couldn't take, he's going to a nearby site of a fresh homicide to collect the soul. On hearing this, Ayumu follows him because the cow really wants to know who the serial killer is. They stop on a roof, and the watchdog tells Ayumu that he's very lucky that Master Hellscythe is using her magic to cure him, and that also blew his pingy dog mind away. He tells the zombie that you didn't just heal him, she took the pain to herself and felt it. They head to the scene of the homicide, and the watchdog says the soul had already gone far. The state killer is the king of the night, the watchdog said. The king of the night sneaks up on them and slices through them like meat steak them both, using the same technique he used to kill Ayumu. The watchdog disappears, but not before telling the zombie to take care of you. Ayumu returns home, and Iyu welcomes him. They've already devoured all the pizza, leaving none for him. He tells her that he wants to speak with her, and they go outside. He asked why she never told him that she felt the pain whenever she healed him, and also why she doesn't speak. She explains that she didn't want to worry him, and that her words carry power. Most times, she can't tell which of her words might carry magic in them, just like we're casually having a conversation and all of a sudden your head explodes. She also can't show emotions because, how do I say this, her emotions are intertwined with fate. An ample amount of emotional expression could change the space-time continuum and ruin the lives of billions. She begins to cry, saying that she must hate him now that she knows what she is. And also, she's wearing those amulets to suppress her powers. But as the lover boy he is, he tells her he loves her and will continue to clap her. He tells her to smile sometimes, and if it comes to the fate of the world, he can deal with that. Later, a big whale appeared in the sky, and that's a megalo, like a mega-megalo. The ladies, that's plus the zombie who's transformed into a magic lad girl charge at the big whale with a plan. Ayumu tells the ninja vampire to cut open a big hole in the whale's neck. She makes her sword bigger, like my Excalibur whenever me lady wiggles her melons at me. She slashed through the whale's neck while Ayumu charged and became an even cuter magic lad girl. Ayumu flew into the sky and used the one skill he learnt from Haruna, the flying kick. He ultimately sends the megalo back to its mega hole. It's not your regular blood-sucking show. Haruna has to ease up her mind for the ninja to suck her blood. Seraphim moves closer to Haruna and lip-claps her before eventually sucking her blood. Peeping Tom was watching from the door and possibly beating his meat in the process, but he was busted. At the dining table, he asked the same question that was on my mind. Why she had to lip-clap her before sucking her blood? Seraph says she needs to suck blood, human blood, frequently or she'll die. That reminds me of Seraph of the End. That anime really didn't explain a lot. The dumb zombie speculated that she preferred rice cake girls over Excalibur men, but in reply to that, the ninja said she'd reap him limb by limb and shove them at every opening in his body and deep fry it, which she gets from Haruna, sort of like a really intense form of Novocaine, but with more fang and less dentist. Meanwhile, the ladies are enjoying a bath, which is interrupted by a call from Dai-sensei, Haruna's teacher. Dai-sensei intended for Haruna to fetch some Kyoto tofu, also known as Kyodofu, but Haruna, in a twist that would make even the most seasoned navigator cringe, and as the dumbest monkey on earth, ended up in Tokyo. And in Tokyo, you'd get Tokyo tofu, not Kyoto tofu, because Kyoto tofu is made in Kyoto. It's right there in the name. Ayumu, our zombie protagonist who can't catch a break, gets roped into this tofu mess when Dai-sensei asks him to retrieve the coveted Kyodofu. This is not your run-of-the-mill tofu. It's a delicacy that has somehow become central to the plot. While Ayumu is busy being a glorified delivery boy, Kyoko, who has all the makings of a cheerful yet dubious character, calls him up. She's willing to help him with the tofu under the guise of a friendly gesture. Of course, she arranges a meetup at the cemetery, Ayumu's favorite place, first to hang out, second a fight, and now a date at the cemetery. The cemetery date is like something straight out of a horror anime though. Less romantic, more spine-chilling. Haruna, who had originally declared her disinterest in Ayumu's date, decides to follow him, proving that even in a world filled with zombies and magical girls, high school drama remains a constant. Kyoko, armed with both a katana and ulterior motives, shows up at the meeting. She's not just any ordinary girl, she's a mahu shoujo with a dark twist and a penchant for serial killing. Just as Ayumu is distracted by Kyoko's advances and ogling right into her not-so-big melons, she reveals her true nature. With a twist that rivals the best plot twists in anime history, Kyoko unveils her dual identity. She stabs him in the back like with a sword, that is. She said in a diabolical tone that she wants his life with brother was thinking she wants to clap him in plot twist. She's not only the serial killer responsible for the chaos, but also a magic lad girl with bad intentions. The revelation is as shocking as finding out your favorite magical girl is secretly the villain. Think of it as if Homura Akemi had turned to the dark side and decided to take a few unfortunate souls along with her. Kyoko's plan involves more than just a bit of mayhem. She aims to kill Ayumu, but this is where the plot thickens. Ayumu, being a zombie, is technically immortal. So, after Kyoko's dramatic revelation, we get a classic magical girl transformation scene, complete with a pervert shout-out that's become Ayumu's signature move. Despite his best efforts, Ayumu finds himself outmatched as Kyoko unleashes her dark powers, which are also like a megalo. She's also a vampire. It's only a matter of time before she transforms into a werewolf too. Just when it seems like Kyoko has the upper hand, Seraphim joins the fray, stabbing through Ayumu in a bid to reach Kyoko. This dramatic moment is as epic as any fight scene in Attack on Titan. But Kyoko's immortality akin to that of Ayumu, but she said she's not a zombie and is a cat with not just 9 but 10 more lives, and this keeps her going, leaving Seraphim wounded and on the brink of defeat. The appearance of Yu Hellscythe with her legendary power adds a final layer of tension. Yu's intervention is like the arrival of a deus ex machina, except this time it's a beautifully dark and mysterious magic user stepping in to restore some semblance of balance. The clash of powers from magical girl to vampire to legendary necromancer makes for an intense showdown. Kyoko's attempt to harness immortality through soul harvesting adds a philosophical twist to the carnage. Wait, what's all this poetry? But that's not the interesting part. She pulls Denji's head out of the zombie's hand and transforms into a magic lad girl. I know that blew your mind, it blew mine too. I'm about to change my writing style, I'm on cloud 9 guy. Yu is quiet but yet very mysteriously a powerful necromancer. She once again reminds us that when it comes to the undead, she's the top tier boss. Just as Kyoko starts hurling every flashy attack in her arsenal thinking she's got the upper hand, Yu casually negates them like she's brushing off a mosquito. And then, in one of the most epic flexes in anime history, Yu transforms into a Masu Shoujo. That's right, move over Sailor Moon, this is what happens when a magical girl crosses with a grim reaper. Ayumu, the self-proclaimed hero of this supernatural madhouse, suddenly realizes that it wasn't him who accidentally absorbed Haruna's magic, but the silent badass, Yu, who's standing over there. This is probably the moment he wishes he had stayed home eating ramen instead of getting involved in zombie necromancer battles, but lol, what choice does he have? In any case, the stakes are high. Kyoko's been burning through souls like they're limited edition trading cards, and it's Yu's job to put an end to it, with the power of her words, which, for those keeping score at home, can literally change reality, and all her housemates are shocked that for, remember Frozen's song that says for the first time in forever? She used her words just one though, and she repeatedly kills Kyoko by just saying die. Wait a minute, that reminds me of an anime. I'm about to write the longest anime name in history, fam. So it goes, my instant death ability is so overpowered, no one in this other world stands a chance against me. And damn did that guy cook. I know in games losing a life is frustrating, but dying again and again by your opponent's sheer willpower, that's next level torture. However, here's where Kyoko channels her inner JoJo's Bizarre Adventure villain, because she's not going down easily. Pulling a rather hardcore move straight from the That's Gotta Hurt playbook, she tears her own eardrums like this character from, what's the name again? Baki! Yep, if you thought plugging your ears to ignore someone was a bold move, Kyoko took it to a whole new level. With no ears to hear Yu's words, Kyoko's free to deliver a massive explosion that knocks Yu out. I mean, Kyoko could have just used a noise-canceling headset, but I guess that wouldn't be as dramatic. Meanwhile, Ayumu, with that classic My Hero Academia determination, steps up. Yu's down, and someone's got to deal with the problem child that Kyoko has become. With an anime protagonist's resolve, because you can never beat the protagonist out of his spot. He goes full-on protection mode and somehow manages to negate Kyoko's magic. I'm not saying Ayumu is Deku, but he's definitely got some of that I'll keep getting up even if it kills me spirit. Like in every fight where the loser doesn't give up but keeps telling Mata Mata. And here's where the fight gets wild. Ayumu doesn't just beat Kyoko once. No, that would be too simple. He decides to keep killing her over and over until she's burned through all her stolen souls. Imagine Kyoko at this point, probably screaming in her head, why won't this guy let me die in peace? It's like being caught in an endless Groundhog Day loop, except each day ends with Ayumu taking her down like she's the final boss in Dark Souls, but just when it looks like Kyoko's about to get her ultimate game over, Ayumu decides to spare her last soul. He's merciful like that, giving off serious Naruto vibes. She would have died about 2 weeks ago if it were me, and I'd have had some good melon play time with her. Kyoko might be a villain, but Ayumu's the type who believes even she deserves a shot at redemption. Maybe he's imagining an alternate universe where Kyoko's making lunchboxes for everyone instead of blowing them up. Of course, no battle wraps up without a visit from the mythical mentor figure. In Waltz's Dai Sensei, who's here to do what every sensei does, take Kyoko back for some re-education. And in anime terms, that's probably code for sending her off to some dimension where evildoers have to sort paperwork for eternity, or worse, live without the internet. Just as we're thinking Kyoko's story arc might finally be getting tied up with a neat little bow, anime's favorite trope slaps us in the face. An evil presence takes over Kyoko's body. It's not just any presence either. It's a zombie filled with malice. Because why not? Yu's past just keeps getting juicier and juicier like the ninja's melons. Apparently there was this zombie that got a little too cozy with the dark side, and Yu, as you do, had to kill it. But like every villain in every anime ever, this guy just won't stay dead. She tells him this over some tea outside, and he assures her as a lover boy and a certified clapper who wants to keep clapping her that she's safe and he'll always be with her. Ayumu's academic life isn't exactly what you'd call thriving. So, in typical anime fashion, our hero finds himself cramming for an exam with Haruna, the powerless magic lad girl, and Yu, the necromancer. He can't go to school because the sun is as hot as jumping into a lava. He's desperate to avoid the horrors of summer school, which, for Ayumu, probably ranks just below being sliced by a chainsaw in the zombie hierarchy of pain. If only studying was as simple as beating up Megalos. After somehow surviving the exam, he gets a call from Dai Sensei. Ayumu shifts gears into full megalo hunting mode when Haruna picks up on some horse megalo shenanigans. He uses every shade possible to get to the megalo site. Now, a horse megalo isn't exactly your standard villain. It's like My Little Pony on steroids, but with way more existential dread. Just when things seem under control, Ayumu's phone rings, and of course, it's none other than Dai Sensei, the all-knowing overlord of chaos. She asks Ayumu to hold on to something for her, which, knowing his luck, is probably either cursed or totally embarrassing. As Ayumu rushes to Haruna's side and stops the horse who's trying to use his humongous horse Excalibur to clap this tiny, powerless magic lad girl Haruna, Ayumu is ambushed by a bunch of jellyfish megalo. These slimy villains gang up on him like he's the last piece of pizza at an anime convention. But just when it looks like Ayumu is about to become zombie sushi, they fix their tentacles down his Excalibur and find out he's got a sword sharper than theirs. They quickly leave him and face Haruna to clap their jelly seeds into her, but then the real hero of the day swoops in. A ramen delivery girl. That's right, forget all the fancy magic and ninja moves. This girl takes out the megalo with a steaming bowl of tonkatsu ramen. It's like the ultimate Food Wars showdown, but the stakes are life and death. As the jellyfish melt away in a cloud of savory broth, we learn that this mysterious ramen warrior is actually a vampire ninja named Maelstrom. Yes, you heard that right, a vampire ninja who fights with soup. This is why we love anime. The ability to smash random character archetypes together and still make it epic. In some parallel universe, Naruto's ramen guy is looking on with pride, but before Ayumu can properly thank his new soup-slinging savior, Haruna gets fed up with being ignored and in true tsundere fashion shoves Ayumu right onto Maelstrom, and they accidentally clap their lips. Boom! Anime rule number 34. Accidental kisses are legally binding, especially when ninjas are involved. According to the ninja code, Maelstrom, who's probably regretting her career as a ramen deliverer at this point, announces that they are now married. That's right, folks. One accidental kiss and Ayumu tied the knot. I bet even Sword Art Online didn't get Kirito hitched this fast. Things only get weirder as Maelstrom takes Ayumu and the vampire ninja Seraphim to her secret base. You'd think the base would be filled with shuriken and smoke bombs, but no. It's a high-tech soup dispensing fencing fortress designed to rain tonkotsu on hordes of megalos. That's right, it's literally raining ramen. Forget battle strategies or weapons. In Maelstrom's world, defeating enemies is all about the broth-to-noodle ratio. I imagine the Attack on Titan scouts could have used a machine like that, except instead of raining ramen, they could have tried hot miso soup on Titans. After the Megalo drowning soup demonstration, Seraphim drops a bombshell on Ayumu. According to the sacred ninja laws, a kiss means marriage. Yup, they are officially married now and there's no annulment clause. Poor Ayumu's internal monologue is probably screaming, "Why me?" While Maelstrom is just playing it cool because, you know, vampire ninjas don't get flustered by things like this. Fast forward to the Tanabata festival where Ayumu, Maelstrom, Haruna, and Iyu all celebrate under the starry sky. For anyone unfamiliar, Tanabata is basically Japan's version of Valentine's Day except with more paper wishes and fewer chocolates. But let's be real, Ayumu's wish is probably for this accidental marriage to not ruin his high school life. And of course, Yu remains stoic, probably thinking, "This is why I don't talk." But then, just when Ayumu thought his life couldn't get any more worse, the next day at school, Maelstrom, who's known as Yuki Yoshida when she's not saving the world with soup, announces her married status to the entire class. Yes, she stands up in front of everyone and just casually drops the, "Oh, by the way, I'm married to Ayumu" bombshell. Not that way though, she brought her husband a meal and said they had to work this out by fire and by force. You can almost hear the collective gasp of his classmates. If Ayumu wasn't already considered the class weirdo, he's definitely got that title locked down now. To top it all off, Ayumu finally discovers the item Dai-sensei wanted him to hold on to. X-ray glasses. That's right, X-ray glasses, the kind that cause all sorts of misunderstandings in every anime ever. At this point, Ayumu's thinking that summer school might have been the least of his problems. With an accidental marriage, a ramen-wielding vampire ninja, and X-ray glasses, he's officially living the dream, or maybe the nightmare. Oh, X-ray glasses, like he can see through the linen and flee directly at everyone's melons. Ayumu's life continues to spiral into full-blown anime madness when he realizes that the X-ray glasses he got weren't just a gag gift. They were actually meant for Seraphim to read secret messages. Meanwhile, Haruna is in dreamland and things get weird. She dreams of Ayumu trying to kiss her, which sounds almost romantic except that Haruna reacts the way any tsundere would, by imagining it as some kind of weird invasion of her personal space. Upon waking up, she does what Haruna does best. She beats Ayumu up for something he didn't actually do. While Haruna is working through her dream-induced rage, Yuki is busy plotting her next move. After all, she's now technically married to Ayumu thanks to that accidental lip clap. Did I mention that he had a wonderful seasoned moment with her melons and she's trying to figure out how to, you know, actually like the guy? So, like any sensible ninja bride-to-be, Yuki turns to her friends, Taiko Hiramatsu and Kanami Mihara, for advice. It's like an anime version of How to Train Your Husband, except with ninjas, magical girls, and necromancers. Yuki goes through the classic motions, making Ayumu a homemade lunch and walking him home. It's cute in that awkward, "I'm only doing this because ninja law says I have to" kind of way. I can almost hear Ayumu muttering to himself, "I didn't sign up for this." Meanwhile, Seraphim, our resident cool as ice vampire ninja, receives her secret message. No one really knows what it says because, you know, it's secret, but it probably has something to do with a new mission, or perhaps more soup-based megalo-killing shenanigans. You can never be too sure when vampire ninjas are involved. While all this is happening, Haruna, never one to stay idle for long, tracks down Ayumu and demands a date. Yes, because the best way to follow up beating someone senseless is to ask them out on a date. Tsundere logic strikes again. Ayumu, the ever-confused protagonist, decides the best way to defuse the situation is to invite all of the girls. Because nothing says romantic date like bringing along your entire magical harem to the mall. The next day, the whole gang heads to the mall where Yuki gets a little too close for Haruna's liking. Haruna, as expected, gets annoyed. Yuki's attachment to Ayumu is starting to irk her and the tsundere fire is burning bright. I can almost hear the internal monologue. Why is she acting like we're on the same level? I'm supposed to be the one who pummels him for no reason. Of course, Yuki, being as straight-laced as a ninja can be, doesn't pick up on Haruna's annoyance and keeps hanging around Ayumu, adding even more fuel to the love triangle. Or is it a love square at this point? Later on, Haruna, in a moment of strange vulnerability, asks Ayumu to kiss her. This, of course, is the natural progression from beating him up in a dream, right? Ayumu is probably just as confused as we are, but before things get too out of hand, Haruna decides that physical violence is the best substitute for romance and ends up pummeling him instead. In another universe, this scene might have played out as a romantic confession, but nope. This is anime and we must abide by the laws of slapstick. After Haruna finishes with her daily Ayumu beating, they regroup with the others only to realize that Yu has gone missing. And when a necromancer like Yu disappears, it's not the "I'm just taking a stroll through the mall" kind of missing. It's the "oh no, we're about to be in serious trouble" kind of missing. You'd think Ayumu would be used to this by now, but no. Every time something like this happens, he's caught completely off guard. Now the group faces the classic anime scenario of trying to track down their missing friend. I mean, it wouldn't be a proper episode without someone getting getting lost, would it? Yu's absence adds a layer of tension to an already ridiculous situation. Maybe she's off defeating Megalo solo or quietly saving the world behind the scenes, but in typical Yu fashion, she's probably not even making a fuss about it. After all, she's the calm, collected necromancer, while the rest of the group flails about trying to figure out what's happening. And so, the episode ends with a mix of confusion, unresolved romantic tension, and the looming threat of whatever chaos Yu's disappearance might bring. Ayumu's life, as always, is a whirlwind of strange encounters, accidental marriages, and getting pummeled for no good reason. But hey, that's just another day in the life of a zombie protagonist trapped in a harem anime. At least he's got ramen and x-ray glasses to keep things interesting. Or you thought her days of battling evil zombies were behind her. After all, what's the point of being an all-powerful necromancer if you can't permanently put down a zombie or two? But nope, this zombie comes back with more lives than a video game boss, confronting her in a classic, "You thought I was dead? Think again!" anime moment. Seriously, someone needs to get a proper tutorial on how to permanently get rid of undead enemies. While Yu is facing down her undead nemesis, Seraphim, the ever-stoic vampire ninja, drops a bombshell. Turns out she had received orders to kill Yu all along. Yep, her clan is under the impression that Yu's magic is like a neon sign for Megalos, drawing them in like fans to a Dragon Ball Z fight. But because this is anime, there's no way we're ending things with a simple assassination. Ayumu, ever the accidental harem protagonist, swoops in with a well-timed emotional plea. He somehow manages to convince Seraphim to abandon the mission, most likely with a heartfelt speech that probably sounded like, "Killing you? That's so not cool." Cue dramatic music. Just as it seems like Ayumu has dodged another crisis, the zombie levels up his villain game and threatens to harm Yu's friends. This pushes Yu to the brink, causing her normally repressed emotions to burst out. In typical anime fashion, these emotions manifest in the form of a giant kappa doll. Yes, a kappa, because why summon something normal when you can call in a mythological river creature in plush form? The kappa lands squarely on Haruna, who gets crushed under its ridiculous weight. Imagine a scene straight out of Naruto where instead of a tailed beast, you've got a giant fluffy monster doing the damage. Enter Dai Sensei, who, as usual, shows up at just the right moment. With a single move, she knocks the massive kappa doll off of Haruna, saving her from a squishy demise. But because anime physics are a thing, the kappa doll bounces off Haruna and lands on poor Yuki instead. I'm starting to think this kappa has it out for everyone. As if being flattened wasn't enough, Yuki suddenly becomes possessed by some dark force. Cue the dramatic transformation scene as she summons a weapon with the ominous name Mysticor. Because in anime, everything has to have a cool, mysterious name, right? Mysticor immediately goes out of control, threatening to explode and take everyone with it. It's like we've just jumped genres from harem comedy to Evangelion-style apocalypse real quick. But wait, Ayumu, never one to miss a chance to save the day, leaps into action. In true protagonist style, he manages to embrace Yuki, which somehow stops Mysticor from going nuclear. Who knew that hugs could prevent catastrophic explosions? Someone should have told the Gurren Lagann crew. Things might have gone a lot smoother if they just hugged it out. With the immediate crisis averted and the zombie realizing he can't win today's battle, he makes a dramatic exit as villains do. There's no monologuing or cackling, just a simple walk-off into the sunset like a defeated final boss in One Piece, promising that this isn't over yet. You know, the usual anime cliffhanger where the villain will 100% come back more powerful in the next arc. But while everyone else is breathing a sigh of relief, Yu is spiraling. The zombie's threats and her uncontrollable emotions make her realize that she's a danger to her friends. You can almost hear the sad anime music swelling in the background as she makes the decision to leave. And because Yu is the queen of stoicism, she doesn't make a grand speech or a tearful goodbye. No, she leaves behind a simple note for Ayumu because nothing says "I'm trying to protect you" like a well-timed, emotionally devastating letter. Ayumu, of course, is going to be left holding this note and wondering where everything went wrong. One moment, he's dodging zombie-killing orders from Seraphim, and the next, his necromancer friend is leaving town. It's like he's stuck in an endless cycle of melodrama where every good moment is immediately followed by a crisis that can only happen in an anime universe. Months have passed since Yu pulled her classic leave a note and disappear act, and Ayumu is getting increasingly desperate. It's like trying to find the last rare item in a Final Fantasy game, except this rare item is a necromancer who somehow keeps eluding them despite being pale enough to stand out in any crowd. But hey, this is anime, where dramatic disappearances are par for the course. The gang has been searching high and low, but Yu's still nowhere to be found. And to make matters worse, Seraphim's old vampire clan is getting a little cranky about her not killing Yu. Apparently, assassination contracts in vampire ninja clans come with strict deadlines. Who knew? The vampire ninja brass isn't playing around either. They've ordered Seraphim to be taken out like she's a character in Attack on Titan who's outlived her usefulness. It's pretty intense, but that's the life of a vampire ninja. And what better time to receive a mysterious delivery than when everything is already going wrong? A violin shows shows up at Ayumu's house because in anime, why not? And because Seraphim apparently has a secret passion for string instruments, she immediately falls in love with it. You could almost hear the dramatic music in the background, as if she's about to do a whole character arc revolving around this violin, but instead of a touching moment, we're thrust right back into the action. Later, as Ayumu, Haruna, and Seraphim are out minding their own business, or more accurately, trying not to get assassinated, they run into the evil zombie king himself, King of the Night, because villains always have to have an over-the-top name. If anime has taught us anything, it's that titles like King of the Night come with dramatic flair, villainous monologues, and of course attempts to kill the protagonists. Naturally, King of the Night doesn't disappoint. He tries to murder Ayumu and the gang just to lure you back. You know, your standard villain move. If I can't find her, I'll just kill her friends. That'll work, right? But before things get too bleak, the cavalry arrives in the form of Yuki and the other vampire ninjas ready to dish out some justice. It's like that moment in Naruto when Team 7 shows up right before the bad guy can finish his evil plan. The vampire ninjas force King of the Night to retreat, temporarily saving the day, because no anime battle is ever truly over in one episode. As Yuki gives Ayumu the 411 on King of the Night's location, and because villains never stay in hiding for long, Seraphim gets a lead of her own. She finds Yu outside of Ayumu's house, as if she's been lurking in the shadows the whole time. Typical necromancer behavior. But just as things seem to be looking up, King of the Night swoops in for a backstab, literally. With an anime-esque strike to the back, he kills Seraphim, but because this is anime, we all know she's not going out like that. Before collapsing, Seraphim pulls a quick re-zero and ensures her own survival by making Yu heal her. King of the Night, proving once again he's a grade A villain, forces Yu to come with him, leaving behind her friends. Ayumu and Haruna, not ones to just let their friend be kidnapped, head straight to King of the Night's evil lair. Seed Necromancer? They arrive just before Yuki and the rest of the ninja squad show up, but seriously, do all anime villains have pre-furnished lairs waiting in case they need to hide a kidnappings go from bad to worse real quick? King of the Night, because he's just that extra, plants a time bomb on Haruna's head. You'd think this is a Spy X Family episode with all the bomb drama, but no. It's just another day in Ayumu's chaotic life. Of course, this isn't just any ordinary bomb. This bomb likes to play a twisted game of hot potato, bouncing from Haruna to Yuki like some cursed version of Mario Kart. As the tension builds and the clock ticks down, Ayumu does what all anime protagonists do. He takes the bomb on himself in a classic self-sacrifice move. He leaps out of the window, managing to get the bomb into midair just in time for it to safely explode. And by safely, I mean it blows Ayumu to bits. But don't worry, this is Korewa Zombie Desuka, and Ayumu's ability to blow up and come back together like a Dragon Ball character is practically his superpower. With Yu once again in the clutches of King of the Night and Ayumu currently scattered in pieces, things aren't looking great. But if there's one thing we know about Ayumu, it's that he'll pull himself together, literally, and chase after Yu again. After all, in the world of anime, the bad guys might win for a while, but the good guys always get the last word, eventually. Or, in Ayumu's case, the last awkward self-deprecating quip. The girls manage to collect all of Ayumu's scattered pieces like they're gathering Dragon Balls, but instead of summoning a dragon, they're just trying to bring back a zombie. Unfortunately, after the puzzle that is Ayumu is put back together, he's still out cold, probably enjoying some existential crisis in his subconscious. Enter Dai Sensei, who clearly has no concept of letting someone rest. She decides the best course of action is to send Haruna into Ayumu's self-consciousness, because why not? Jumping into someone's mind to solve their emotional baggage is pretty standard procedure. Inside Ayumu's mind, things are as gloomy as an episode of Neon Genesis Evangelion. Ayumu's busy, throwing himself a pity party, blaming himself for being too weak to protect you or anyone for that matter. It's like he's auditioning to be the next Shinji Ikari. But Haruna, being Haruna, isn't having any of that nonsense. With all the grace of a My Hero Academia battle scene, she knocks some sense into Ayumu, probably with her fists, because that's how Haruna handles emotional support. After a motivational beatdown, Ayumu wakes up, snapping out of his funk, and Haruna drags him back to reality. Ayumu's back, and it's time for some zombie action. Fast forward to the main event. Ayumu and Haruna confront King of the Night, aka Yoruno, and Yu. Seraphim, now powered up from drinking Yu's blood, because what's a vampire ninja without a little vampiric power boost, is guarding the gateway to the demon world like she's playing first chair in the world's most dangerous orchestra. She uses her trusty violin to play a soothing melody that, for some reason, is powerful enough to fend off hordes of megalo. I guess in anime, music really does soothe the savage beast, especially when it's played by a blood-powered vampire ninja. As she battles, more vampire ninjas show up to back her up, because when the going gets tough, you call in the ninja cavalry. Meanwhile, Ayumu squares off with King of the Night in a battle that feels like something straight out of Dragon Ball Z, with intense standoffs and dramatic speeches. But this isn't your regular anime fight. Mistletoe, Ayumu's trusty chainsaw-turned-magical girl wand, or better still, Denji's head suddenly decides to play therapist. The chainsaw apparently has enough sentience to realize that Ayumu and Haruna need to power up, so it convinces both of them to transform into Meso Shoujos. Because what's better than one magical girl? Two, obviously. Cue the epic transformation sequences, complete with glitter, frills, and enough sparkles to make Sailor Moon jealous. Now, in full Maso Shoujo mode, Ayumu and Haruna are able to dispel King of the Night's oppressive mist, which had been weighing them down like a bad mood in Attack on Titan. Unfortunately, mid-battle, Haruna gets separated from Ayumu, because it wouldn't be an anime fight without the classic "we got split up" trope. With Haruna out of the picture for now, Ayumu goes all in, unleashing a beatdown on King of the Night. But this isn't just any beatdown, it's a heartfelt, feelings-heavy beatdown. Ayumu isn't just punching for the sake of punching, he's pummeling Yorino for not understanding Yu's feelings. In classic anime fashion, the villain gets hit with both fists and the power of empathy. It's like watching Naruto give a speech about the power of friendship mid-battle, except Ayumu's delivery is a little more blunt. Eventually, King of the Night starts to get it. After getting smacked around enough, he realizes that maybe, just maybe, Ayumu has a point. He comes to terms with his situation, and Yu finally agrees to let him die, giving him the release he's been seeking. It's a bittersweet moment as the two undead beings share a quiet understanding, like something out of Full Metal Alchemist when people start talking about the value of life and sacrifice. But the emotional wait isn't over yet. After the fight, Ayumu turns to Yu and in his usual awkward way, begs her not to leave again. This is Kore wa Zombie Desuka though, so we know a serious moment is just the precursor to something heartwarming and hilarious. For the first time ever, Yu responds with her own voice, softly assuring Ayumu that she'll stay with him no matter what. It's a big moment, considering Yu normally stays silent to avoid causing catastrophic consequences with her words. Just when you think things might end on a sweet note, Haruna, never one to be outdone, flies in from out of nowhere. Because of course, in true anime style, she's been soaring through the sky, probably on some sort of weird magical girl power trip, only to crash land dramatically in front of Ayumu and Yu. Haruna, ever the chaos incarnate, claims she flew across the world, which in anime isn't even the weirdest thing she could have said, and is floored to hear Yu actually talking. And as usual, it's the chaotic, hilarious, and surprisingly touching end you'd expect from Ayumu's weird life. Whether it's epic zombie battles or awkward emotional breakthroughs, this gang never does things halfway. And yet, amidst all the chaos, giant kappa dolls, rogue weapons, and necromancer angst, Ayumu remains the glue that holds this absurd group together. Sure, he might get flattened, pummeled, and emotionally wrecked on a daily basis, but that's just part of being an anime protagonist, right? If you like the video, make sure to check out one of these other two right here. Also, if you want to see the full plot-filled version, no restrictions, just subscribe to our Patreon in the description below.